So the question I get asked most often is, how do I get the fill in the blank of some famous guitarist tone? And it's a tough one to answer because a lot goes into how a particular guitar master's tone is created. And, you know, there's a lot more than just equipment. I mean, if you think you can get, you know, you can sound like Robin Ford by saving up and buying, you know, a $50,000 Dumble amp and not learning how to squeeze a tone out of every note like Robin, then, I mean, you're just wasting your money. Folks have been trying to get the Brian May tone for years with a treble booster and AC30, but there are so many other variables, not the least of which being his handmade guitar that he and his dad built, and hand-potted pickups, even down to the particular year of the sixpence coins he uses for a pick. I actually knew one of his guitar techs way back when I was working for Phil Collins, and he would always joke that you could have the exact same setup with another guitarist, and you know what? It won't even sound like Brian. So let's make a deal. Let's stop chasing Nirvana, but we can get a long way in chasing down tones that have become, you know, iconic and are generally attainable with a few simple setups. We're going to go through all the iconic decades of guitar tones with the help of my good friend Rooster Olson, who has researched the progression of amps and guitars over time. So let's get started, and over to you, Rooster.
Okay, so we'll look at some of the earlier players with the goal of kind of remembering that all they had to deal with was their guitar and a cable plugged right straight into the amp. So one of the earliest ones that would come to mind for us that is in our vocabulary would be Chuck Berry, and he had just this plugged right straight in. I got the front pickup on my 335. I think everybody remembers that, right? The next player that comes to mind that started really cropping up in the 60s would have been B.B. King. Same exact combination. Cable to amplifier. He used a Fender Twin. This is a Fender Pro. A Fender Pro is actually just half of a Fender Twin, half the wattage. It has a smaller transformer, so a little bit less clean headroom. But as time went on, this is a great assessment of a Fender Twin, really, at a lower volume. So BB, right straight in, front pickup, had simple stuff like... All right, so then we fast forward ahead a little bit, and we get into the next known player that, for me and a lot of other people would consider a known Fender user from the 60s, would have been Keith Richards. He came along, he played a lot of brown face circuitry. You know, you have to remember that they started out with a tweed circuitry. There wasn't a lot of known tweed users, to be quite honest with you, in the 50s. The tweed stuff got really popular with a lot of people like Eric Clapton and stuff like that. As time went on, later on in life, they all started kind of looking back and going, wow, those amplifiers are really juicy. So to try to find some real notable people like B.B. King and Chuck Berry and stuff like that that use tweed, we kind of jump into brown face. That's the next era of Fender amplifier, and Keith Richards definitely was a brown face user, and we'll get into that as we go on. Right now we're going to just show you how, because my brown face here is a Bassman, and that has a solid state rectifier, and if you were playing through like a brown face concert, let's say, I know that Keith used those, they would have had a tube rectifier. So this scenario of a Pro Reverb is still a great representation of something that would be reminiscent to what Keith would have been recording or playing through live from back in the 60s. So here's a quick sample of that.